So it might have been able to be 400% or 450 or 500%, although that isn't going to happen because of the crisis. But there's no natural limit, I guess, is what I'm saying. But it's clear that it just can't grow forever and ever. And the problem is that this has provided the stimulus for the economy. This is one of the major stimulating factors, not the only one, that's kept the economy going all these years. So what will happen when you can't expand debt from one year to the next? What is going to provide the stimulus? And this, I think, is going to be the problem that the economy is going to be facing.
Well, and do you mind if I call you Fred, because it's a lot easier?
Oh, please do. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Now, what they've basically done here, the bankers are getting their trillions, supposedly to get the toxic assets off of their books. But what they've really done here, they've socialized the losses, they've privatized the profits. And the question that I had right from the outset, we had the TARP, we had other funds, we have the trillions of dollars, and folks are really not printing up trillions of dollars in bills, they're just simply making ledger entries. What they're doing right now, and what I would have done if I had any say in this whatsoever, if you're going to go down that path, we're waiting for the bankers to clear up their books so they can once again feel comfortable in loaning us more credit, of which I think we've had quite enough of. And you mentioned in the last 20 years, well, when you said 20 years, I'm thinking to myself, in the last 40 years, the banks created these wonderful little pieces of plastic they called credit card. Madison Avenue sold us the illusion. Wall Street was making the money off of it. And, of course, the bankers were making the profit off of the stuff that we were, charging. But we've got a problem here. We've already are amassed in debt. Now, here's the thing. If I had anything to say about that, if you're going to go down this road with all the trillions of dollars that the Fed Reserve and the Treasury have cooked up, I would have designated at least, say, $1 trillion to be immediately available to consumers, as they like to refer to us as, consumers, so we can free up credit for mortgages, refis, people can buy cars, whatever and however the system worked before and where people were borrowing. But they didn't do that. They have frozen everything, and people are losing jobs. I think last month's figures, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, was 750,000 Americans lost their jobs. General Motors, the deal's supposed to go through with Chrysler. Supposedly they're going to bring on a partner that's going to own majority stock. But General Motors, after the billions of dollars that the Fed just loaned them, they're going into bankruptcy, which they should have done in the first place, to reorganize, protect the company so they could downsize, reorganize, and then get on with the business of supposedly making cars. The question I have for you, Fred, where is this going to end? They think they can borrow money, they can borrow themselves out of debt.
I don't know. The government is not acting in what I would consider to be the most rational way. If they wanted to really deal with the banking crisis, I'm just talking about from their point of view. Not that that it would end the problem, but instead of just throwing more and more money into the banks and then, in essence, taking the banks' bad debts. I mean, the problem with the banks is not liquidity. This is what they talk about. The problem is that they're insolvent. They owe more money than they have, and that is what they refer to as these toxic assets that they have, and which are debts that they have. And so what Sweden did some years back was they nationalized all the banks. They abrogated all of the people who had those the obligations. I mean, the banks were supposed to pay, lost the money, and the shareholders lost their money, and then they reprivatized them after they cleaned everything up. But they didn't do it by trying to preserve all the wealth of the wealthy. And that's what's happening now with the plan that's underway, is that essentially the main goal seems to be, I mean, obviously they want to try to save the financial system, but they want to do it in such a way as to preserve as much wealth in the hands of the wealthy as possible.
Right. Mr. Magdoff, hang on 1 second. We've got to take this break. We'll be right back. Robbie Noel, Bob Chapman, John Statmiller, and special guest today, Fred Magdoff. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We have with us today a special guest, Mr. Fred Magdoff, co-author of the book, The Great Financial Crisis, Causes and Consequences. And we're here to discuss the legacy that it's left us. As I said before the break, we're expected here, folks, to take on the socialized debt that's on our shoulders. The bankers are, and these are private corporations, folks, make no mistake about this. We're there to bail them out, just as we threw billions at General Motors. But there's a difference. General Motors is a producer of something. The Fed just loans out money at interest. And Fred, I wanted to ask you, I had brought this point up before. Do you think, with all the trillions that the Fed Reserve is loaning these banks, that the international bankster gangster and their 12 member groups inside this country, do you think they're going to give us a break on the interest, or are they going to keep the juice running?
They're in business to make money, and they're doing everything they can to make money. And when they don't make money, like they're in a situation now, they're getting it from the government, but they're certainly not going to pass it through to us. I mean, you can see what AIG did with its money. The small thing that everybody got concerned about was all these, the bonuses that got paid to people. But that's nothing compared to what just got passed through to the financial system from AIG into the banks, because I think about a third of the, $180 billion that was given to AIG was 165. I think they gave another 15, and I think 50 or 60 billion of that just ended up right in the banks, because that's who they own the money to. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't see the banks showing any gratitude to us and lessening credit card interest rates or anything like that, unless they're forced to.
Well, and we're in a fix right now, and what they're doing is dragging this malaise out, and I do not see. I'm watching Wall Street and their very well-paid pundits, the cheerleaders, as I call them, for the Wall Street boys. They're making predictions, but they're cautioning that, this could last several months, maybe a couple more years. The way this is going right now, I don't see us pulling out of this anytime soon, and it could be years before the banks feel comfortable with giving us more of what we don't need. We used to be a nation of savers many years ago, but we're just a nation of consumers and spenders. So they're going to try to free up a little bit more credit for us. This is, in my opinion, a recipe for disaster, because the only way to get out of something like this is to actually produce, isn't it, goods, services?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the problems has been that the U.S., as you know, I mean, we're importing a lot more than we're exporting. This is another problem, another reason why the crisis has become a worldwide crisis. It's not the only one, but it's one of them. Partly, it's not because we're not producing more stuff than we used to produce. We are. But we're just buying so much more than we used to buy, and that extra is coming from abroad. So that this is a problem, and it's not clear to me. I mean, we have this tremendous amount of dollars that are floating around the world, and we're able to get away with it in a way that most other countries could never get away with it, because people will accept our currency as if it was, absolutely rock solid. Although the Chinese are having some qualms about that now. They have a couple of $1 trillion of ours, but that is a problem. That the productive economy has not been a place where investors could put money and make the type of money they wanted to make, and that to me has been really the issue that's underlying the whole thing. That when you have a mature capitalist country like we have, the growth slows down and the investment opportunities are not that great. And therefore, if you want to make some real money, you got to do it by essentially betting. I mean, that's what the financial system developed with all these special investment vehicles and
Sure.
the CDOs and everything else. It was all ways to provide betting products or financial instruments for people to bet on, and it turned into a giant casino where you could bet on anything you want to do instead of a producing economy.
Right. And it's fascinating to me that we are continually told that, well, we've got to grow the economy, and bankers want to make more profits. But my argument with this is that why are the banks not satisfied with just gleaning the interest off the money that they loaned? And I use the term money very loosely. Why are they not satisfied with just collecting interest with what's out there? We're always talking about growth, that we have to grow. When is enough enough?